I have a resolution, and a resolution, I just want to let you know, is an actual piece of law. The wording goes through the legislative process. It is voted on in both chambers of the legislature, both the House and the Senate, and it becomes part of the history of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is entered into the annals of the Commonwealth. So this resolution is congratulating Rick Merson on his extraordinary life of service and commitment. And I know I've told people this before. You know there are 5 whereases and 2 resolves. So hang in there with me because it's worth listening to. So whereas Public Works is the combination of physical assets, management practices, policies, and personnel to provide and sustain services essential to the welfare and quality of life for the residents and visitors of Needham. And whereas Rick Merson began his career in the Needham Department of Public Works as a co-op student from Northeastern University while earning his Bachelor of Science in Engineering, and worked in the Needham Department of Public Works in various capacities, including assistant to the director, and has served as director since 1992. And whereas Rick Merson has been a leader and integral to major initiatives in Needham, including but not limited to the Quote Go Green Expo, the Rosemary Ecosystem, and the historic renovation of Central Ave and Elliott Street Bridge. And whereas Rick Merson is an integral public works, whereas Rick Merson was an inaugural Public Works Leadership Fellow, oversaw significant change in modernization in the Department of Public Works, and was an American Public Works Association National Top 10 Leader of the Year recipient in 2005, and received the American Public Works Association Community Involvement Award in 2007. And whereas Rick has been a devoted husband to his wife, Jan, and a loving father to his 4 children, Melanie, Sarah, Shay, and Maura, and so dedicated his time, talent, and skills to national, state, and community organizations, including but not limited to the Boy Scouts of America, the Rotary Club, and as a member and now chair of the Board of Directors of the United Cerebral Palsy Association of Metro Boston, which has recognized him for more than 25 years of commitment and dedication. And Rick Merson was honored by the Needham Exchange Club as the Grand Marshal of the July 4th Parade in 2018. And whereas Rick Merson has led the Needham Department of Public Works with respect and dignity for the work and the workers, as well as empathy for the myriad of quality of life issues and concerns of all residents of all ages. Therefore, be it resolved that the members of the Massachusetts House of Representatives and Senate hereby join with the Needham community in paying honor and tribute to Rick Merson on his retirement after 48 years of exceptional service to the town of Needham. And be it further resolved that a copy of these resolutions be forwarded to the clerk of the House of Representatives and the Senate, and to Rick Merson and to the town of Needham. It is signed by Robert DeLeo, the Speaker of the House, Karen Spilka, the Senate President, by Mike Rush and Becca Rausch, our state senators, and with my greatest respect and admiration, Denise Garlick, your state representative.
I believe it is the aspiration of every man to look back after a career and to say, I made things better. And I must say, Rick, you can say that with absolute confidence and incredible satisfaction. We need only look around our town and the evidence surrounds us. We have clean water and state-of-the-art facilities. We have advanced sewer and sanitation systems. We have good roads. We have parks. We have wonderful shade trees and landscape that's maintained around our town. We have efficient and admirable recycling and solid waste disposal in this town. And these are just some of your accomplishments and some of the ways in which you can take measure of your career and say, I did indeed make things better. I think you've been a wonderful ambassador for our town, both at a state and at a national level, and really quite a pillar of the public works management profession. And you have made us very proud with your state and national recognition. I must say that you leave a legacy in this town, a legacy of service, a legacy of devotion, which I've already referenced. And my hope is that others will see you as an example and will follow in your footsteps and have the same type of remarkable career that you have had. So on behalf of town meeting, if I may be so presumptuous, and on behalf of myself as moderator, but also going back to the days on the Finance Committee when we interacted under the prior regime, I want to congratulate you for your 48 years. I want to wish you nothing but the best. I will say that you have been a fixture at town meeting, and we will miss you at town meeting. But the invitation from the moderator, as you know, I can invite guests, is that if any time you feel restless, please, and want some excitement, please visit us at town meeting, and I will assure you, you will receive a seat of honor. Best of luck, Rick, and enjoy your retirement. You deserve it.
It's probably true that there is no one in this meeting right now that has had the opportunity as regularly as I have had over the last 15 years to speak with Rick at 3 o'clock in the morning. This is a habit that Rick and I have gotten into, typically beginning in January and sometimes ending as late as April. And the cause for that is to check on the weather, frankly, and to decide whether or not we can have school. And the other thing about those calls, and sometimes visits at 4 o'clock in the morning in Needham as we drive around, is the fact that when you call Rick Merson at 3 o'clock in the morning, you get a hearty hello, which is remarkable that anyone can sound like they're speaking to somebody at noon. And not be at 3 o'clock in the morning when they should be completely asleep. So I wanted to just share a couple quick things. The three things that come to mind when I think about Rick and my work with Rick. And first of all, he's known around town for his bad jokes, his weather reports, and snow removal, which I was just referencing. And if I may, I won't dwell on the bad jokes because we'll be here a long time. But they certainly, they always left me with a laugh, and sometimes I'd scratch my head saying, where did he come up with that? The other thing that I will remember about Rick, and I think I'm not alone on the town side, are his incredibly detailed weather reports and emails that he would send out. Even if we were just expecting a sprinkle of rain, Rick could somehow turn that into a 3-paragraph narrative about precipitation, cumulus clouds, and the possibility of a tropical storm somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. It was always a fascination to me, and I know a source of, some ribbing from some of his colleagues. But it's the weather report, frankly, that brings me to the last piece, and that is regarding snow removal, because Rick and I worked over the last 15 years in different capacities on different projects, but as I said, our closest collaboration was on getting the roads ready for school. And one of the many things I've learned from Rick is I've learned a lot about snow removal equipment. He would regularly throw out to me that he's got the skid steer loader and the all-wheel loader or the backhoe loader or the wheel loader out on the road. And I, of course, my eyes would be glazed because I had no idea what he was talking about. I just thought that you put a snowplow out on the road and you got the snow out of the way, but it turns out it's much more complicated than that. And I certainly learned a lot. Rick has always been patient with me, and I would say that what I recall mostly about Rick, and I think my colleagues feel this way too, is besides being patient, he is incredibly trustworthy. He's always been generous with his time, certainly with me, and he's one of the kindest gentlemen that I've had the privilege to work with in my career in the public sector and in public education. And so Rick, want to thank you for the bad jokes, the detailed weather reports. I still probably will, out of habit, call you every once in a while. And I appreciate mostly your mentoring, your collegiality, and really your friendship. I wish you well. And thanks very much for being who you are and supporting me all these many years and the community. Thanks, Rick.
Well, Dan touched on the weather reports. I have to extrapolate a little, if I might. The emails were relentless. They were long. I think he started writing some of them on the first day he was here, because some of them have taken me 48 years to read. There would be a little drizzle in the air, and Rick would say how this was reminiscent of Hurricane Alfalfa from 1825, and how if the barometric pressure drops another 2 degrees, squirrels will be grabbing their acorns and running for the trees. But they were very informative, Rick. And we kid you about it, but it was sort of one of those deals where there would be a bad storm coming, and Rick would give it a nicer spin. Let's put it that way. And the puns or bad jokes, I will not get into because they are bad jokes. And but I truly admired your work ethic. As Dan said, you're one of the nicest colleagues I've ever worked with. One of the things I truly admired about you was your relentless effort and to get DPW Public Works recognized as public safety. And from my perspective, the DPW is a part of us and police. Whenever we need something, you guys are always there, and your people take that initiative of in that honor of being a part of public safety to heart. And you know, whenever we needed something, a tree moved, some snow plowed, DPW would always be there. And that's, they say a fish rots from the head, and a tasty fish starts at the head as well. So I think that what you've done for Needham is spectacular. And for your family, we wish you the best of luck. One of the difficulties I'm going to have, and that's why I'm probably getting a little bit choked up here, is when people ask me where the new fire station is, there's only a few of us, Rick, that know it's in the old Feely Chevrolet lot.
Absolutely.
And I used to love walking down Great Plain Avenue with you at various meetings, talking about Grants or Woolworths or Gardner's or the Crest. The Crest some people know of. That's the new Packy. But in any event, Rick, I wish you what I wish all firefighters when they retire, and that's to receive more years of retirement checks than paychecks, which after 48 years, I hope you live that long to do that. You'll be in the Guinness Book, which will be great. And you'll be, you know, tapping into that retirement system, which is even better. So we're really going to miss you. And the last thing I'm going to say is Needham will not have another public servant that looks so good in a fedora like you do. So thank you.
First of all, on behalf of the Needham Police Department, I want to congratulate you on your retirement and your dedicated and just remarkable service to the town of Needham for 48 years. It is something that you don't see a lot, and you should be pretty proud of all of your accomplishments. I think one of the things that a lot of people, some may know, but some don't, but our relationship goes back to the late 1980s when I was a summer worker for the water and sewer department, and you were my boss. So I got some great mentorship and some life lessons pretty early from you. And as a young kid, I think the couple of things that I observed when I was there is that as a boss, you were always in a good mood. You're always approachable. And I'll tell you, there were some gruff people back then that were managers or bosses, and that wasn't you. You were always approachable. You always had kind words, or if there was always something that we needed or we had a question, you were always there to answer it. And the knowledge that you had back then, and obviously the knowledge that you've retained through the years is remarkable. And I think you probably could start on the Needham Encyclopedia, and you could probably write it in a couple of weeks with everything you know. So, and one of the other things that I realized was that you were just a genuine, kind-hearted individual that really cared about your workers and your staff and the town. And that's something that hasn't changed in 20 plus years now as we work side by side. And I can always say that, as you know, Dennis mentioned, and obviously all of the other people that have talked, that there hasn't been a time when I have called or one of my lieutenants has called you or one of your staff and we're in desperate need of something that you haven't come through for us, and you haven't answered the call or answered the bell for us. And that's quite remarkable, because I know that there's a lot of, in different towns, there's, you know, we get along together and we work as a team, and it's not the same in many communities. And it's something that you've heard from everybody here. You've heard from the superintendent, the fire chief, the select board will probably talk to that. Our representatives have talked to that. It's remarkable. And I know Dennis touched on it. Everything that we do in town, a lot of things go through us, but they go through the DPW. And you are part of the public safety, because there's a lot of things that go on where we need your help, and we can't do it because we don't have the personnel. And again, we call you, whether it be the 3rd or 4th of July, the harvest fairs, all the storms. We call for your assistance, and your people are there without question, without hesitation, and they always do an unbelievable job. And that comes from the true leadership that you have displayed over the years. And it's going to be hard for you hard for us when you go, because it's been such a smooth and great relationship. And I know there's some big shoes to fill, but we're so grateful for everything that you've done, and you've laid that foundation for the town, for all of us to work on, to keep building, and to keep those relationships and those collaborative efforts together, because we couldn't do it without you or your staff, who is really second to none. And that's really a reflection on you and the type of person you are, and how much you care about not only the people that work for you, but you care for this town and the other workers in this town and the other departments. So again, thank you so much for everything that you've done and you've given to this town. I hope you have a long, healthy, and happy retirement, and have some time to enjoy it with your family. So congrats and best of luck. And listen, if you get pulled over once in a while, give me a call. I'll see what I can do for you.
Like John said, I can't think of a time that I ever asked for your help and you weren't right there to provide it. Rick's been a mainstay of my career in the town of Needham, and I've relied on him enormously. When all else fails, Rick will know why a particular street is an ancient town way and why that matters. He can tell you where the U.S. Army has buried the cables for the Nike missile site, and he even knows what store was on the corner of Great Plain and Chapel before the crest. Crest gets double mention on this call, Dennis. Rick and I have stood together for more than 30 years. We've stood at parades for veterans, for astronauts, and for Olympians. We've toured the town in hurricanes and in blizzards. We've watched fire performers on the first New Year's Needham in the snow-packed streets. We consulted many an early morning about snow, so much snow. We've stood at building demolitions and bridge dedications. We stood and watched a scuba diver crawl across the bottom of the prior Rosemary Pool. We stood together at countless wakes and funerals. We stood together at budget hearings, select board meetings, and at town meeting. We've stood together at railroad crossings, intersections, bridges, schools, parks, and sewer pumping stations. To me, Rick stands for what's true and pure about public service. For 48 years, he stood up for the critical and daily needs of our residents and our businesses. He stood up for public works, and he made it happen. Rick, as everybody said, there's never been anybody truer as kind who's worked for the town of Needham, and we are going to miss you so much.
I met Rick when he was in the first third of his career here in Needham, because I had just moved into the town, and the water from Dan Matthews' house was coming down the street and filling my driveway. So in desperation, I called the DPW, and Rick came out and looked at the situation, gave me a temporary fix until he could reconfigure the curb, and he solved my problem and never made me feel anything other than welcome to town, and I'm here to help you. He's the quintessentially decent and competent public servant and a great person. Thank you very much for your service, Rick.
Thank you. You know, with all these dates, I hate to say it, you started at the DPW before I was actually born, but growing up in the town, I've heard a lot about you. My father, Paul, and of course, Tony Cefalo, and I really enjoyed your letter to us mentioning Tony and all the work that you and he collaborated on. And as you know, my father started building, I think it was 1954 in Needham, and then when subdivisions were the norm in the 70s and 80s. I know he worked a lot with you on so many projects. And then I talked to him today and I said, you know, Rick's retiring. He's now 90 years old. And he said, Rick was always someone who was fair to work with. He was treated everybody with respect. He helped out so many people in town, and you heard this message all tonight. And such a kind man. So he sends his best and his congratulations. From this seat, I've always known you to be the knowledge base for the town, as you've heard. You want to know what went on a certain street or a certain part of town, you'd talk to you. Professional, hard worker, and you've made Needham a better place to live. I've enjoyed conversations with you. I remember going into Boston, would talk about the past. And yes, I do remember a lot of those puns and jokes, which I actually appreciate. I like.
Thank you.
I give and take both. So what I appreciated, I think, is how you bridged that generational gap, kind of the old Needham I'd hear about and the townies and the things that people would do. And it was like memory lane, and it brought me back and made me realize that, you know, Needham is still that big, small town. And you heard it tonight, and we're just all grateful. So thank you. Best of luck in retirement. And I know why you won't be going far. We'll be seeing you around. So thank you.
Rick, I just want to say thank you. I think of you with the history. I think of you, and I'm grateful always for the thoroughness whenever I have a question. I wouldn't have quite characterized it the way Dennis did, but he certainly made me laugh as he talked about the hurricane in 1918. But and more than that, usually that explanation always came with photos too. So you had visited the site and made sure I had a good visual of what was going on and what your recommendation would be to have all the parts in one place. And I always appreciated everything being in one place. I'm also going to say one of the things I remember along the way with you is a few particular ties with a message that had occasion to show up with regularity. That was always one of the other benefits. So thank you so much for everything you've done for Needham. We have been blessed to have you all these years.
You know, it wouldn't be right unless I invoked some humor. And I want to call on Dr. G to, hold on, that phone, no, that's not for you, Rick. Okay, that's not for you. I really think, and I'm disappointed that Rick is retiring after 48 years. So, Dan, I think a good use of Rick's knowledge base would be as an adjunct professor to the Needham Public Schools. And I've jotted down some possible curriculum ideas. It's no-day decision-making and analytics. Kids need an education other than the stuff that you teach in the schools, of which my kids got a good education, as did all of our kids on the board. But, instead of touch the trucks, how about drive the trucks? How about drive all the equipment? So there is a place for the education. And there's another good one that does everybody, well, this is an inside joke. Jack Cogswell's bubble speech. Now, all of us that are on this screen right now remember Jack's bubble speech. But what they don't know is that Rick collaborated with Jack on the bubble speech. Dan G, that would be another curriculum idea. Exactly. So, in all seriousness, Rick, I and all the members of the board have known you for many years. And I want to say that we've been in a billion meetings with you. Okay, a billion. But there have been so many meetings that I have been in with you, including many neighborhood meetings, times where Rick has joined me in somebody's living room or kitchen to go over an issue that a neighborhood was having. And Rick is always there with the steady guiding hand of the knowledge that he brings to whatever issue it was that we were there for. I have the greatest respect for you, Rick. I've enjoyed working with you. I hope to see you and continue speaking with you. Are you keeping your cell phone and number, by the way?
That's up to the town manager.
I think that would be a good idea. Well, if she takes it away from you, we'll figure out. I know how I'm going to connect with you. But congratulations. We're going to miss you terribly, in case you haven't figured that out. But congratulations, Rick.
One of the things that when I think of what particularly stands out to me, it's the unfailing over all of these years. And although I wasn't here when you started, I've been here for a lot of them. Your unfailing good nature and kindness and courtesy to people, and remembering that this is a customer service business, and the customers are not always happy, and they can even be awfully unhappy when they don't really have a right to be unhappy. But you've always been great about it, and that's been a big part of the teamwork that you've built and the leadership that you've shown, and something that really has helped make this a good town to live and work in. So I want to thank you. I just want to say it's been great working with you, and I want to thank you and wish you all the best.